Narration asterisk. Fast-paced, excited, storyteller tone. 3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the dark lord on his dark throne. Sounds epic, right? But have you ever stopped to think about what those rings actually did? Who wore them? And what happened to them after all the dust settled in Middle-earth? We're not just talking about the One Ring here, folks. Oh no. We're diving deep into the history, powers, and ultimate fates of all 20 rings of power. From the shimmering elven rings that preserved beauty, to the dwarf rings that fueled unimaginable greed, and the terrifying rings that turned men into shadowy specters, and of course, the big daddy of them all, forged in the fires of Mount Doom. Get ready, because this is every ring of power and their owners explained in detail on Stickman Middle-earth. Narration asterisk. Maintain fast pace, slightly humorous, conversational. Alright, fellow lorehounds. If you're anything like me, you've probably quoted that iconic verse 1,000 times. But Tolkien's world is so much richer than just a catchy rhyme. These aren't just fancy pieces of jewelry, they're instruments of immense power, crafted with both noble intentions and sinister designs. Today, we're going on an epic journey, tracing the lineage of these magical artifacts from their creation by the Elvensmiths of Eregion, with a little help from a certain Dark Lord in disguise, all the way to their ultimate destruction or disappearance. We'll uncover who wielded them, the incredible, and often terrible, abilities they granted, and where they ended up. So grab your lembas bread, settle in, and let's unravel the mysteries of the Rings of Power. Narration asterisk. Enthusiastic, slightly reverent tone. First up, let's talk about the good guys, or at least, the rings that weren't directly tainted by Sauron's grubby hands, the 3 elven rings. These beauties were forged by the master elvensmith, Celebrimbor, alone. He used the knowledge Sauron, disguised as the Lord of Githsanitar, had shared, but Sauron himself never touched these 3. That's a crucial detail, folks. Narya, the Ring of Fire. This fiery gem was first given to Círdan the Shipwright, who, being super wise, recognized Gandalf's true nature as a mayor, basically, an angelic being, and passed it on to him. Narya's power? To rekindle hearts, inspire courage, and resist the weariness of time. Think of it as a massive morale boost for the forces of good. Gandalf openly wore it, a gold ring with a blazing red ruby, a beacon of hope in dark times. Nenya, the Ring of Water wielded by the magnificent Lady Galadriel of Lothlorien. Nenya was made of mithril and set with a gleaming white stone. Its power was all about preservation and protection. It helped Galadriel maintain the beauty and timelessness of Lothlorien, fending off the encroaching evil. Frodo, being a ring bearer himself, could actually see its radiance, while others just saw a star through Galadriel's fingers. Pretty neat, huh? But remember, even with Nenya, Lothlorien couldn't stand against Sauron himself. Vilya, the Ring of Air. This was considered the mightiest of the 3, a blue sapphire set in gold. It was first held by the High King Gil-galad, and after his fall, it passed to Elrond, Lord of Rivendell. While its exact powers aren't as explicitly detailed as the others, it shared the Elven Ring's general purpose, to heal, preserve, and resist decay. It helped Elrond maintain the Sanctuary of Rivendell, a vital haven throughout the Third Age. What happened to them? When the One Ring was destroyed, the power of the 3 faded. They became mere beautiful trinkets. Their bearers, Gandalf, Galadriel, and Elrond, took them to the Grey Havens and sailed west, leaving Middle-earth forever. A bittersweet end for such powerful artifacts, but their work was done. Narration asterisk. Slightly conspiratorial, then excited tone. Now, let's talk about the 7 dwarf rings. These were also forged in Eregion, but unlike the elven rings, Sauron had a much more direct hand in their creation. He gave them to 7 dwarf lords, hoping to enslave them just like he planned for men. But here's the thing about dwarves, they're tough. Their spirits are so resilient, so focused on their craft and their gold, that Sauron couldn't bend them to his will. Instead of turning them into wraiths, the rings amplified their inherent greed and desire for wealth. They became incredibly rich, establishing the legendary 7 Hordes. Imagine mountains of gold, glittering gems, and ancient artifacts, all thanks to these rings. But this immense wealth came at a cost. The rings kindled wrath and suspicion among the dwarves, leading to conflicts and ultimately, the ruin of their kingdoms. It was a slow poison, not a sudden enslavement. Known owners in Fate's Asterisk. The most famous of these was the ring given to Durin III, king of Durin's folk. Over time, 4 of the 7 rings were consumed by dragons, because, let's be honest, what's a dragon going to do with a magic ring other than melt it or swallow it? Sauron managed to reclaim 2 others. The last one, famously worn by Thrain II, father of Thorin Oakenshield, was taken from him by Sauron when Thrain was imprisoned in Dol Guldur. So, by the time of the War of the Ring, Sauron had recovered all 7, either directly or indirectly. They didn't create ring wraiths, but they certainly caused a lot of trouble for the dwarves. Re-engagement hook asterisk. So, the elves got preservation, the dwarves got wealth and a whole lot of trouble. But what about men? What did Sauron have in store for them? And how did his ultimate weapon, the One Ring, tie it all together? Stick around, because next, we're diving into the terrifying tale of the 9 rings for men. Narration asterisk. Dramatic, slightly ominous tone. Alright, prepare yourselves, because now we delve into the darkest chapter of the Rings of Power, the 9 rings for mortal men. These rings were also forged in Eregion, under Sauron's direct influence. He gave them to powerful kings, sorcerers, and warriors among men, knowing that mortals were far more susceptible to their corrupting influence than elves or dwarves. Unlike the dwarves, men were easily swayed. The rings granted them immense power, wealth, and extended life, making them kings and lords of great renown. But this came at a horrific price. The rings twisted their minds, consumed their spirits, and dragged them into the Wraithworld. They became the Nazgul, the Ringwraiths, terrifying servants utterly enslaved to Sauron's will. They were permanently invisible to mortal eyes, existing as spectral beings, their lives prolonged far beyond natural limits, but as tormented, mindless extensions of the Dark Lord. Known owners in Fate's asterisk. While the specific identities of all 9 men are not fully detailed in Tolkien's works, we know that 3 were great lords of Numenor, and 1 was an Easterling king. The most infamous, of course, was the Witch King of Angmar, the leader of the Nazgul, a truly terrifying force. By the time of the War of the Ring, Sauron had reclaimed all 9 of these rings, holding them himself, while the Nazgul remained his chief captains. Their power derived directly from him and the One Ring. Re-engagement hook asterisk. So, the elves preserved, the dwarves got rich and suffered, and men became terrifying wraiths. But all of these rings, every single one, was ultimately bound to a single, master ring. The One Ring to rule them all. The ultimate weapon of the Dark Lord. Are you ready to face the truth about the One Ring? Don't go anywhere. Narration asterisk. Intense, dramatic, building to a climax. And now, for the grand finale, the ring that started it all, the ultimate symbol of power and corruption, the One Ring. This wasn't forged by elves, oh no. This was Sauron's masterpiece, secretly crafted by the Dark Lord himself in the fiery depths of Mount Doom. He poured a huge chunk of his own power, his malice, and his will to dominate all life into this single, plain gold band. Its purpose was clear, to control all the other rings of power, and through them, all the free peoples of Middle-earth. When Sauron first put on the One Ring, the elves immediately sensed his treachery and took off their rings. But the One Ring's power was undeniable. It granted its wielder immense strength, the ability to understand ancient tongues, and a terrifying connection to the unseen world, making the wearer invisible to mortal eyes. But it came with a terrible curse. It corrupted absolutely. It twisted the minds of its bearers, making them obsessed, paranoid, and utterly devoted to the ring itself. It prolonged life, but only to stretch the bearer thin and weary, a shadow of their former self. Owners in Fate asterisk. The One Ring had a long and bloody history. After Sauron's initial defeat, Isildur cut it from his hand but famously failed to destroy it. It lay lost in the Anduin River for centuries until Déagol found it, only to be murdered by his friend Sméagol, who became the wretched Gollum. Gollum kept it for 500 years in the Misty Mountains, until Bilbo Baggins stumbled upon it. Bilbo, with an act of surprising will, eventually passed it to Frodo Baggins, the true ring-bearer. Frodo carried its immense burden all the way to Mount Doom, where, by a twist of fate in Gollum's final act, it was finally destroyed in the very fires of its creation. With its destruction, Sauron's power was utterly broken, and the other rings of power lost their potency. The Age of Magic began to wane, making way for the Age of Men. Re-engagement hook asterisk. Few. What a journey, right? From the subtle preservation of the elves to the corrupting influence of the One, these rings shaped the destiny of Middle-earth. But what lessons can we take from their incredible story? And what does it mean for the future of this channel? Stick around for the final thoughts. Narration asterisk. Reflective, then energetic and engaging. So there you have it, folks. Every single ring of power, from the subtle beauty of Narya, Nenya, and Vilya, to the gold-hoarding curse of the 7 dwarf rings, the terrifying transformation of the 9 for men, and the ultimate, world-shaping power of the One Ring. Each one a testament to the intricate lore crafted by Tolkien, and each with its own dramatic tale of creation, ownership, power, and ultimate fate. These rings weren't just magical trinkets, they were central to the entire history of Middle-earth, driving empires, corrupting souls, and ultimately leading to the epic War of the Ring. They show us the seductive nature of power and the importance of resisting its darker temptations. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Rings of Power, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to Stickman Middle-earth for more lore breakdowns, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. And now for our provocative pinned comment question. I want to know, if you could wield any one of the 20 Rings of Power, knowing all its consequences, which one would it be and why? Let us know in the comments below. Your answers might just inspire our next video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep exploring Middle-earth.